Bravestarr. Hey there, friends and foes. Good morning, multiverse. This is Back of the Cereal Box, the pop culture podcast that celebrates the fun of the Saturday mornings of our youth. I am your host, the prophet of pop culture, John Pyka. You can call me Johnny. And this morning, we are celebrating Bravestarr, Eyes of the Hawk, Ears of the Wolf, Strength of the Bear, Speed of the Puma. And we are going to do that right after this.
Saturday morning, it's fun for all. Cartoons and cereal, let's have a ball. Comic books, kaiju, pro wrestling too. The fun is waiting for you. Back of the cereal box.
And when I was a kid, we did not have smartphones or tablets at the breakfast table on Saturday morning or any morning for that matter. And we were reading the back of the cereal box. That was literally our newspaper, our world in between comic books, kaiju, cartoons. And this morning, I've got in my bowl the Oreo O's that we did a live taste test of last week. So I'm going to fill my bowl, and that's what I'm going to be celebrating the Saturdays of our youth with this morning. And joining me, not Aubrey, because she is out of town on vacation, but one of our favorite co-hosts on the Cereal Box Network. She is one of the most talented people I know, a talented artist, writer, editor, amazing cosplayer, host of Cosplay Cafe on the Cereal Box Network, and the Gilmore Sisters, and occasionally a host of Back Issue Breakfast Club. Please put your hands together for the one, the only, Crayley Vanest.
Gosh, Johnny, I don't know how I'm supposed to live up to all that. Well, I guess those are just my jobs.
Yeah.
But still, it's very, very flattering.
Well, you know, it's all true. And I know that you are so humble that you would not have shared an ounce of
No,
what just happened?
I don't know. You cut out for just a second.
Yeah. So you do Pokeballs by Crayley. Tell everyone what the Pokeballs are.
Okay, so they are Pokemon fan dioramas. So the main product that I do is an actual, like, it's inside a sphere.
You know what?
A scene of what the Pokemon is doing. I'm uploading one right now to put on the screen. There's
Well,
a picture of one.
I think I can do you better. Check this out.
Pokemon love cereal. Hi, I'm Crayley from Pokeballs by Crayley. You probably recognize me from appearing on various shows on the Cereal Box Network. For the month of July 2023, I will be running a very special collection. I am teaming up with the network to do a special breakfast-themed collection. So go to CrayleyVaness.com, and featured right there on my store page is the breakfast collection, because Pokemon love breakfast. Most of them love it as much as Pikachu likes that ketchup bottle. You know what I'm talking about. So again, that's CrayleyVanest.com. Or you can hit the link in the description wherever you're finding this video.
So I forgot that was last year's promotion, but
the product photos, like, I still make products in all of those shapes and sizes and stuff. Yeah. So and that was a really fun promotion to do. Like, I got to make all those, like, little breakfast scenes and stuff. Like,
any of those left, or did you sell them all?
I have 2 left that keep going to conventions with me, where the way things get filtered through and set up whenever I've got a big booth, like, people walk in and they're like, there's too much to look at. And so every now and then I have a couple of items that will stay with me for 6 or 7 shows in a row. And so I have 2 items left. And I made like 50 or 60 things for the breakfast collection. So I don't think that's too bad. They're both tiny items too. And there's 1 Pokeball left that the reason that one hasn't sold yet is it broke. So it was just sitting waiting for me to fix it for 6 or 7 months, and now it's fixed. So
Gotcha.
mhm.
Well, Crayley, you've got a spoonful of something, so I have to ask, what's in your bowl?
Oh, this is the first time you've ever seen me eat on air. This is a Hunt's snack pack of pudding.
Oh,
I am one of those people who can't eat solid food when I wake up. It takes me like 2 or 3 hours of being up and moving before I can eat solid food. It just makes me really nauseated. And I discovered last year that I can handle pudding in the morning, and also sometimes canned pears and other very soft fruits. I
what about
have so many.
Jell-O?
Oh, yeah, I always forget that Jell-O's an option because I know I can. I just forget to like buy it or pre-make any of it. I actually have a problem getting enough calories in the day in general. Last year we thought something was really wrong with me. Like they were about to do like spinal draws and stuff to test me for some pretty serious diseases because I started falling down the stairs and having blackout loss of time. And then when they did my blood panels, they were like, "Oh, you're basically just deficient in every vitamin. How much do you eat?" So they made me track what I eat, and I was only eating 400 calories a day. I really thought you were supposed to get hungry before you accidentally starved yourself.
No, you were in starvation mode.
Yeah, so I like my brain wasn't getting enough like fat and nutrients to operate, and that's why I was losing time and falling over. And what's weird is I wasn't getting hungry in between. So
Well, because your body adjusts to it as the new normal.
yeah,
That's weird. That is so weird. Well, as I said, I'm having Oreo O's, and it really does taste like Oreo cookies in a bowl. It's pretty phenomenal, and it's by Post. And in honor of Post, I'm also using my Fruity Pebbles bowl. So, Post cereals, I'm honoring you this morning. I'm just saying, we love you, Post cereals. Anyway, you guys may notice that Crayley is wearing her dinosaur onesie, and I am wearing my Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer Bumble onesie, so that we're kind of monster mashing.
Mhm.
But you guys got to see this picture of Crayley and her sister in matchy onesies. How adorable is that?
We wore those to Starbucks. We went inside, and how you know that the kids who were there with their parents were excited. I think some of the adults there were enjoying it without actually wanting to stare. But how you know that the Starbucks employees were just super in the weeds, not a single one of them cracked a smile. And we were like, wow, they must be so busy. Because we were like singing along to Mr. Jones and Me, I think is the title of the song, one of those like 90s songs where they
Mr. Jones
that one,
and
yeah.
me. Yeah.
Or maybe it's just called Mr. Jones, or maybe it's called something completely not related to the chorus at all. I don't know. It was the 90s, but we were like singing along and dancing and everything, and like not super loud, but enough. We know the cashiers and the baristas could hear us, but we were there at like one of the peak drive-through times. So,
Well, you can attest to this because you are a cosplayer as well, host of Cosplay Cafe. Are you, like me, seeing more and more pajama onesie cosplay at conventions?
oh yeah, way more. And then also Kigu variations is one of the names for them, where it's like kigurumis are like anime character onesies,
Okay.
but then there are variations where it's like you can get a Kigu dress. So like I have a Lunala dress. It's a legendary Pokemon that looks like a big starry bat, where the skirt is galaxy print fabric to show that it's like it flies up in the night sky or whatever. And when I spread my arms out, I have little wings, but it's cotton and I can take the hood down when I need to, and it's got huge pockets because somebody custom made it for me. That was Randy Jacobs in Northern Indiana. She does, what is the name? Bell Bunny Design. So it's Belle like pretty, and then Bunny Bunni Designs does custom Kigus. So
That's pretty awesome.
if you look her up on socials or whatever, she doesn't have a lot of custom slots open very often. I kind of wormed my way in because we both work at conventions. So I was able to be like, hey,
Well, that's fantastic. Well, before we get to our audience comments, because we're going to do some audience comments before we dive into Bravestarr. We're talking about Bravestarr this morning. We have to thank the people who make this show possible, our Cereal Box Super Friends, Eli Cash, Phoenix Sisters Cosplay, now Phoenix Sisters Entertainment. I need to update that. Sharice Collins, Dave Mattingly, Valerie Davidson, Jeremy Bell, Angelina Vaquera Link, Day One Comics, George Soroy, Larry Amiet, Elliot Latham, Robert Alsop, Clyde Hall, and Chris Vaglio. And you too can have your names in lights at patreon.com/cerealboxpodcast. Now, if you want to support the other shows on the Cereal Box Network, that's buymeacoffee/cerealboxpod. But we'll have that banner running down below. So if you want to, support us and become a super friend, you get all kinds of exclusive content at just $2 a month. You get access to a bunch of early stuff. And let's go to those audience comments. And we've got a bunch already. Zentron is joining us from across the pond. He says, good afternoon, fellow cereal boxers. Man, I'm tripping over my tongue this morning, Crayley. I've got first day with my new tongue, I think.
I'm dazzling you. You're tongue-tied.
That's part of it.
My dazzling presence.
And for those of you who are just joining us and wondering where Aubrey is, she's on vacation. And of course, Willow has been had her work schedule all janked up and can't be on screen with us. But she is commenting in the comments. And Willow Schuyler says, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Willow. Zentron also adds, coming live at my computer desk after getting my car back from the motor shop. What happened to the car? I'm sure there's a story there. And Zentron has been working on a redraw of a She-Ra scene. Also Filmation, the producers of Bravestarr, but Blackstar, but we're talking about Bravestarr. Finally finished the She-Ra scene I was previously doing. Now I'm on to the next scene. Love it. And look here, Super Cereal Boxer Dave Mattingly is with us. Good morning, Box Tops. Good morning, Dave. And when I dropped out for a minute, my internet dropped out. Zentron said, "Man down, man down." And I don't get this comment, Zentron. Snake, snake, snake.
Do I look like a snake? Was he not there until we saw the? I'm not sure.
Or does he think you have a snake around your neck?
This is actually a 3D printed dragon I got to show off in our new loot section later. So I'll talk more about him when we get the chance later.
And Willow does say we need to update that Pokemon ad. Yeah, we do. Crayley, you need to send me a new.
I have one that Kelly made for me. I can send it to you as soon as we're done here.
I forgot it was last year's ad.
I mean, it still showed off the product just fine, and the website still works. It's just, that sale isn't going on anymore.
Yeah. And
if you want breakfast-specific Pokemon stuff, you can email me through the website or message any of the Phoenix Sisters socials. Like, I can still make Pokemon breakfast scenes. So
that's fantastic. Andrew Milden is joining us. Good morning. And Sandra Noel says, what's in her bowl is Cinnamon Toast Crunch waffles. It's good, but I do prefer the Mapley Waffle Crisp versus Cinnamon waffles. So, Sandra, I have not found the Cinnamon Toast Crunch waffles anywhere in this part of Nashville. She's down in Dixon, Tennessee. They've got them in Dixon, but not in Davidson. What is going on this planet that I can't get Cinnamon Toast Crunch waffles? General Mills, hello. I've even reached out to General Mills directly and said, help me get this cereal. Guys, what's going on? There's something about Nashville. We're like in this void of new product releases. I don't get it. And Willow Schuyler is eating Gothic Cheerios. What are
I think she was
Gothic?
calling your Oreo bites Gothic Cheerios.
Oh, you know what? They kind of are, but no, they taste like Oreo cookies.
It reminded me of Cookie Crisp, how you'd have the dog or the wolf, depending on which generation of commercial it was, being like Cookie Crisps, but like way
Yeah.
louder and deeper.
Now this we're called back of the cereal box because we were reading the back of the cereal box as kids, but this back of the cereal box is like a Canadian back of the cereal box. There's really nothing other than, bring more joy to your breakfast bowl. Now, is it as good as Oreos as cereal? No. Oreos as cereal is pretty epic. And I'm going to pour some more because I'm starving this morning. But this is a pretty good, quick substitute. So Post done good with this one. And I gave it last week 4.5 out of 5 bowls of cereal. Willow says, I'll be singing along with you, Crayley. I would have turned on the headset to broadcast out of the drive-thru too. That's funny.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that would have been fun. I bet you're a little more practiced because you've also done all of this podcasting with us, though, at just like having fun on the job. I think podcasters, a lot of us are already better at having fun on the job, and then having to be on and be public but still be your authentic self and have fun with it helps you take that into your other jobs too. I really think it does.
Dave Mattingly has a great comment for you, Crayley. Crayley is eating pudding while she's being eaten by a dinosaur.
It does kind of look like he's eating me. It's like that Shel Silverstein poem, I'm being eaten by an anaconda or a boa constrictor. I don't remember what type of snake it was, but it was like, I don't remember how it started, but it goes along the lines of, oh, gee, it's up to my knee. Oh, heck, he's up to my neck.
Yep.
Oh, dread, he's eating my oomph.
Yes. That is kind of dark, though.
Shel Silverstein poems were like that. You'd have one that was really cute about like a crack in the sidewalk or something, about building a tree house, and then you have one like, oh, unicorns are extinct because they drowned because they wouldn't listen to Noah and get on the ark and played in the puddles instead. Like,
wow. Cade Hawkins, Caterade, says, hiya, homies. Good morning.
Good morning, Cade.
You know what? This is a perfect opportunity. Since Cade just joined us, I want to show off something that he's created. This has nothing to do with Bravestarr, has nothing to do with the overall theme, but he's created his own animated series called Chubby Unicorns. Check this out.
Hey, you want to go on a quest?
What?
You know, a quest, an adventure to someplace else to experience stuff.
Sounds like work.
It might be a little work, but it would be magical.
Would I have to leave this field right here?
Well, I mean, yeah, it could take us away from this location.
Sounds like effort, not magic.
There'd be a little effort, but it could take us to places that we've never dreamed possible.
I like it here, in this spot, right here. I am not moving.
Kinda sorta sounds like you don't want to go on a quest now.
Kinda does, doesn't it?
Well, I want to go on a quest. My heart calls me to the quest. My mind beckons me to the quest. My tongue seeks the tasty sensation of questing. I think if the right unicorn came along and offered to go on a quest with me, I'd take that chance.
Hey, anybody out here fancy a quest?
Sounds like work.
Wanna go on a quest? No, not really. What about now? Still not happening. Come, let's embark. Sounds like work. It sounds like adventure. Now don't be a jerk. I'm not going anywhere. You'd rather die right here. Hey, you figured out, dude. You wrecked the rhyming thing. I don't really care. That's the ticket. This song's stupid. I'm done with it.
I love that. Also, that's me and my husband. My husband never wants to go on a quest with me. And then, like, the few times he does agree, I'm like, oh, oh, well, now I actually have to get up. I'm the one who suggested it, so I'm probably going to have to drive. Like, I got to come up with like a plan. We got to take the dogs out. I don't want to leave this field. I want a quest from my couch.
Well, this Chubby Unicorns animated series that Cade has created is like, it is so, I don't know, it is so like real life for us in the creative fields, especially. Anyway, he has a YouTube channel, a separate YouTube channel from Cartoon Commotion, where he's posting the weirdness. And Cade, we have more that we will be sharing each episode of Back of the Cereal Box. We have adopted Chubby Unicorns as our animated series. How cool is that?
That's amazing. I think Big Sisters Entertainment need to get on that too, because I think our followers would also love that. We're all adventurers at heart who sometimes just have not a lot of energy.
Well, hey, Cade, so you're watching. Do this. Add those episodes also to Cosplay Cafe, and heck, add them to Sunday Morning Superheroes, because I think everyone will get a kick out of that. Anyway, and shoot me the YouTube channel name, or put it in the chat. And Sandra Noel, pining about my rant about Cinnamon Toast Waffle, says, "Indeedy, LOL." And we've got a bunch of other comments, including this one. Want to go on a quest? I'm going on a quest today. You guys, I might as well announce it now. After the show, I'm heading down to Huntsville, Alabama, to visit the brand new Stirr's cereal bar.
Huh.
They are one of the largest cereal bars in the country. Unlimited. It's unbelievable. I've not been there yet. They invited us to come down for the grand opening in March, and we haven't been able to make it. It's only a 2-hour drive, but you know, adulting is hard sometimes, and sometimes a 2-hour quest is a lot of work.
I'm driving to Chattanooga next weekend from Indianapolis. I think it's like 10 or 11 hours for Matrotham Con.
Mm-hmm.
That's a quest.
You know, I wasn't going to be at Matrotham Con this year, but maybe I'll come down just to see you.
That would be fun. That would be a lot of fun. We're staying with one of David's army buddies, so they'll be entertaining themselves. We would probably actually have a little bit of time to hang out.
Yeah. So, the cereal milk for Oreo O's, it's like the milk that's left over when you've been dunking cookies in the milk. It's not chocolatey, but it's got like the chocolatey crumbs. Let's try it. Oh, that's real good. That's better than the cereal.
You look like you just drank a cookies and cream milkshake.
That's what it tasted like. Oh my gosh. Bottle that. Because you've seen some of the cereal companies doing like cereal milk in the bottle. This one, do it. All right. So, Zentron says he'll be on a quest tomorrow, going to Upper Ramsbottom to explore a disused railway station and goods yard. Okay, you guys, he's not exploring. He's setting up his secret laboratory. And Cade says, take vids or it didn't happen, Zentron. Yeah, I can't wait to see that. All right. So, Crayley, we've fooled around long enough. Now it's time to get to... Wait, you were muted when you said that.
I said time for the main event.
That's right. Let's get ready to rumble. It is time for us to talk Saturday morning 102. And let me just preface this by saying that Saturday morning 102 is intended to be discussion about shows from Saturday morning cartoons that are a little bit more obscure or you might not remember very well. And if you don't remember Bravestarr from Saturday mornings, that's okay, because it was never aired on Saturday mornings. It was a daytime show, a syndicated daytime show by Filmation. And, well, let's just get to the tail of the tape, shall we? Bravestarr is an American space western animated series that aired 65 episodes from September 1987 to February 1988 in syndication. The show was created a year after Mattel had released a line of action figures. Bravestarr was the last animated series produced by Filmation and Group W Productions before Filmation shut down in 1989. Reruns of the show aired on Kubo Night Owl from 2010 to 2013 and on Retro Television Network from 2010 to 2015. And the whole idea, the whole concept is that it combines elements of science fiction and Western genres, the tropes, and it's set in a 23rd century planet called New Texas, and it's a multicultural desert planet. And just like on the other Filmation series that preceded it, like He-Man, She-Ra, Shazam, Secret of Isis, Ghostbusters, a moral lesson is told at the end of each episode. And one notable episode is an episode that we're going to talk about this morning, The Price. And our viewer, Virgil Tibbs, really turned us on to that episode. But, Crayley, did you watch anything other than the one episode? Did you watch any of the other stories?
No, I really wanted to, especially after I saw The Price. Like, if you guys watch one, I think you'll want to watch more because I want to watch more. My week was very full.
That's all right. So we're going to talk about that specific episode, but as I go through the images here, this is John Bravestarr. He is a Native American superhero, and he literally has the powers of eyes of a hawk. He can see long distances. I think he can actually, it's almost like a telepathic vision through not just his eyes, but other eyes of other birds. Strength of a bear, and he's stronger than a bear. I mean, he's bending metal and bringing down, buildings. Speed of a puma, so he's super fast, like Quicksilver, and he's got the ears of a wolf, superhuman hearing. Just basically, Crayley, for me, this was like a combination of the movie Tombstone with Star Wars meets your favorite Marvel Comics, DC Comics superhero. Vixen from DC Comics is the same character as Blackstar. I wanted to say Proudstar. That is a Marvel Comics character. James Proudstar and John Proudstar. Anyway, tons of characters in this. Too many to even name.
The character list was really long when I looked it up. It's like, and every single one of them had a backstory too. Like,
oh my gosh, I don't think I've ever seen an animated series with as detailed and complete character Bibles as this show. I mean, even minor characters like the cactus droid had an incredible backstory. Besides Bravestarr, you had this character, the shaman, who was a Native American shaman on a spaceship trying to defeat his ancient enemy, and they ended up crash landing on New Texas. And he's the one who raised Bravestarr. Here's a scene of him training Bravestarr in the ancient magics that give Bravestarr his powers. And the main villain was Tex Hex. And do you know, Crayley, that this character was originally created for the Ghostbusters Filmation animated series? But Lou Schreiber, the producer, thought he was too cool and too unique to just bury in the Ghostbusters, and he became the lead villain for Bravestarr.
I did not know that, but I'm not surprised either. Like,
and here's Handlebar and 3030. Bravestarr's partner was an anthropomorphic horse, a bionic anthropomorphic horse named 3030, and he had this giant, like, plasma cannon gun that he called Sarah Jane. Sarah Jane's gonna get me a piece of this action. I mean,
I loved that. I loved 3030.
He was so cool. Here's Bravestarr using the strength of a bear. More Tex Hex. I loved that everybody else in this series rode these kind of like Star Wars speeder bike, steeds, except for Bravestarr, because 3030 would transform into a bionic horse that could be ridden. So he had this transformational, thing going on between being a horse and being, more humanoid. And
it was a little disconcerting at like 3/4 of the way through the only episode I'd seen for 3030 to suddenly get on all fours and Bravestarr like jump on his back. I was just like, I didn't know it worked like that.
Well, so it kind of speaks to their relationship, that Bravestarr would rather have a living, breathing steed than, just one of the rocket sleds, the atomic steeds, as they're called in Marvel Comics.
Well, because then he's not focused on navigating. He can focus on identifying the problem, using a weapon if he needs to, calling on one of his powers if he needs to. Like, it makes sense. It frees up the mental game for him, which one of the things I was reading was that the biggest difference between 3030 and Bravestarr was that 3030 likes to handle things physically. He likes to drag somebody away or punch somebody in the face if they need to. Whereas Bravestarr likes to mediate. He likes to argue. He likes to call to a higher power, like be like, well, what does shaman have to say about it? And so when you put them together, that gives 3030, where 3030 is the steed, that gives 3030 the physical job, the steering, the maneuvering, the space of it, leaving Bravestarr free to use his mind for stuff. So it worked perfectly. I wasn't expecting him to suddenly get down on all fours.
Yeah, Bravestarr, and Crayley corrected me in the chat. I do keep referring to Bravestarr as Bravestarr. It's an easy mistake to make. They're both Filmation properties, and they both end with star, but Bravestarr has 2 R's instead of 1. There was another lot of characters in this, and this incorporated classic Western tropes, super futuristic sci-fi tropes. This character looks like she could be right out of Flash Gordon. And the town was this mismatch of Western architecture and, in some cases, a little bit of post-apocalyptic. I have this image of, what looks like a a downed ship up on blocks. So this was the cool mishmash. And Crayley, do we remember the mayor's character's name? I'm going to look it up here. She was often, I mean, this was the 80s. She was often the, she was the judge, Judge J.B. McBride.
And the hammer.
Yeah, the gavel. Yeah. But as cool as she was, as tough as she was, and the reason I thought she was the mayor is because she basically ran the town.
Mhm.
But she was often used as a damsel in distress. I mean, it was the 80s, although let's not kid anyone. She was never really in any real distress. She was as much a badass as Bravestarr was, or any of the other characters. Now, here's the one character that took me off guard. Deputy Fuzz. There's this race of what I can only describe as mole people or gopher people. And he's one of them that becomes a deputy. Deputy Fuzz. I'm going to stay right here at Bravestarr until you get back. And, he was the comic relief for this show. But you know what, Crayley, when I was a kid, I mean, this came out in 87 and 88. I was a junior in high school. It came on after school, and I wasn't coming home after school when I was a junior or senior. I was in rehearsals for the musicals, for plays. I was performing, doing stuff. So
nerd.
I know.
I also was in a ton of school activities. That's me making fun of me too.
Well, and so I never saw this first run, and even later on when it was in reruns in different places, I avoided it like the plague. And the reason is because although I like anthropomorphic animals, the idea of mixing anthropomorphic animals and human characters, to me, is ridiculous. And I thought this looked ridiculous until I realized, watching it this week, that the whole town, the whole planet has these different races and tons of anthropomorphic animals. I'm trying to find this shot of one of them. There's another one of Tex Hex. But there were all these anthropomorphic animals in this. There we go. There's one of the dingoes, not coyotes like you would find in Texas. They were dingoes. But there were tons of anthropomorphic animals side by side with alien races, zombies like Tex Hex, and human characters that used a blend of science and magic, like the shaman. And if I had known this when I was in high school, I would have been all over this. Star Wars is oxygen to me. Star Wars movies are responsible for who I am today. And my dad imparted on me a huge love of Westerns. Tombstone and Young Guns and Silverado are three of my favorite, like, top 10 movies. Love them. So had I known back then what I know now, I would have absolutely loved this movie or loved this show. And the fact that it's Filmation elevates it even higher for me, because I really have an affinity for Filmation. The way, and a lot of people criticize Filmation for this because they use a lot of the same character models and they recycle animation. Well, every animation studio does that. But what is interesting about this series is that this was the last series that Filmation produced before they were unceremoniously and like just without warning shut down by their parent company, Their parent company sold the company to L'Oreal. And then the day before the sale happened, they shut down because the very next day, a new federal law was going to go into effect that required employers to give their employees 60-day notice of layoff. And so by shutting down the day before the sale, the day before that law went into effect, they were able to lay off the entire staff with zero warning and zero compensation. How do you like them apples?
I do not like them apples. Them apples are rotten.
Our friend Rob Lamb was a storyboard artist on this series, and he has talked extensively with me about that day. They came in, and the door was locked. I mean, they came in to work on this show, and the doors were locked, and there was no explanation. And L'Oreal, the company that bought them, never restarted the studio. They did nothing with any of the Filmation catalog. It is in ownership hell. That's why you don't see any Filmation shows on TV right now. MeTV is launching a new network called TV Tunes. Not a single one of them is a Filmation show because nobody even knows how to get a hold of the people to get the rights to air them. It's crazy town. But so for you and I watched a bunch of episodes. I've become obsessed with this show. I love everything about it. And as Rob Lamb has told me many times, doing He-Man and She-Ra on a weekly basis prepared them for this series. And he believes, and I'm going to agree with him, that is Filmation's finest product. The best animation, the best characters, the best written stories. Everything about this was very contemporary, primetime TV, Hollywood cinematic to me. And you and I watched a specific episode called The Price. So, Crayley, your thoughts on Bravestarr in general and The Price specifically?
Well, so for Bravestarr in general, I could tell even from watching one episode that there was a really large scope going on because it starts right away. You know that they're dealing with a drug epidemic in town. So you've got the procedural aspects going on where they want to know who are the dealers, where's the production, what's the pattern of people coming in to the hospital and things so that we can locate those things. Like, it had all that going on. And while that's going on, you've got the human story that's following 3 kids. So it got really serious really fast. Is really early in the episode, 3 children are approached by Dealer, who is a dealer. There's a drug called Spin that they made look super cool. The animation for the Spin actually was really cool. Like, the whole point was they were like, drugs aren't cool, but like then it's a bottle of it's like a tiny glowing tornado in a bottle that comes out in glowing liquid and that you absorb through your hand.
Yeah,
which was neat world building for a drug, like a way to take it. And
at the beginning of the episode, they're already dealing with a spin addiction epidemic. People are I mean, they're going to the hospital. It's like acid. They're hallucinating. They're going crazy, going into seizures. So this is where we start.
Yeah,
and then
2 of the 3 kids already know when they get approached by a dealer. They're like, I've heard that this is really dangerous. I don't want anything to do with it. But that there's the one kid who gets tempted. He's like, no, I want to have fun. I don't want to be a chicken. Like, this kid calls everybody a chicken. He's clearly got something to prove.
Yeah.
Like,
we all knew that kid in high school.
Yeah. So,
spoiler alert, I had to give you a trigger warning ahead of this because
it handled addiction realistically up to the point where the kid who gets addicted to spin dies. So like Johnny gave me the warning and I was watching it and I was like, the way they're talking about it and the tone of it and stuff is a little dated and stuff that I think I personally and a lot of people in my, like the millennial generation and younger are a little desensitized to when it comes to dramatic drug addiction stories. Until they killed a kid. I was not expecting them to kill a kid. The kid who's been wrestling with the moral dilemma of whether or not it's okay to be a fink and tell on his friend who is addicted and has been acting out of character and stealing and things like that to support this really fast onset drug addiction, goes up there and they find his body. He passes out and now he's expressing all of this guilt for not having told soon enough because he was trying to reconcile between the promise that he made to his friend and keeping his word versus caring for his friend, even if it meant breaking a promise to make sure that he stayed alive. And it seems really crazy. It's like, wow, they killed a kid and they made another kid have survivor's guilt and blame himself. But these things do happen to kids in real life. Like, I've actually worked, in the marketing department, but still I've worked for drug addiction treatment centers. They were all evidence-based. And that's one of the things that we did writing on that is something that's like brand new to a lot of people is kids do drugs for the exact same reasons that adults do drugs. Is they have something they're trying to escape or something they're trying to achieve. And it's not just like, oh, kids are bored. And that's why it stood out to me that the kid who's calling everybody a chicken and behaving aggressively is the one who was tempted despite hearing that the drug was dangerous, because clearly he was handling something on the inside already that was making him behave differently than his friends. So,
well, and it's interesting to note, this episode took place in the middle of the Just Say No to Drugs campaign that Nancy Reagan launched. Gen Xers like me are very familiar with, this is your brain with the frying pan. This is your brain on drugs. That was like heavy part of the late 80s. And this isn't the only show that dealt with this. There was another special called the Cartoon All-Stars, and they dealt with teaching kids not to do drugs, but in a much more cheerful, happy, fun, silly way. This took the topic head on and really painted the horrors of it. I mean, I can't remember the name of the kid who dies. Someone who Jay even steals from his mom to have money to buy the drug. And I mean, that's a real thing. I have a friend who overcame a heroin addiction, $2,000 a day heroin addiction, stole $25,000 off of his mom's credit card to pay for. I mean, that's a real thing. So, and at the end of this episode, the shaman appears, and the whole episode was dedicated to the memory of Raymond Hamada. And I tried to find some specifics about Raymond. All I found was that he was part of the Filmation staff who himself had died of drug overdose. And so this episode was dedicated specifically to him. And, I got to be honest with you, Krayley, I teared up a little bit because I was a little bit shocked that they went all the way there.
I was shocked too. I really was. Like, first they killed the kid, and then the kid who's blaming himself. And I feel like if they had a little more time in the episode, they would have spent more time of Bravestarr consoling the kid to explain that it's not his fault. But now what he does know hopefully will help some other kid, because now he knows when to tell And also, it's really unfortunate that Jay died, but other kids knew him, and hopefully now they will believe that spin is as dangerous as adults in their life were telling them it is. And I feel like if they had had more time, they might have spent a little more time unpacking that too. But
now I haven't gone past this episode yet. This was episode 26. So I don't know if spin comes back in later episodes. Someone who's watched the whole series, all 65 episodes, tell us in the comments. But Dave Mattingly says about Bravestarr's powers, strong as a cocaine bear. Well, in light of this episode, you ain't wrong, Dave. And Cade Hawkins, Caterade, says, I know it's sort of off the path here, but I love the Sherlock Holmes crossover near the end of the series. Incredibly overlooked two-parter. I haven't gotten there yet, Cade. Oh my gosh.
I read about that. Yeah, those are the only 2 episodes that happen on our Earth. Or part of it happens on our Earth. I was curious about them. I really was curious to watch a lot more of this show. There was also an episode about that I read. There's an episode about a guy who's the last of his species, that's this dinosaur species from the planet. And I wanted to have watched that before I got to wear my dino onesie on air. Like, there's a lot going on in this show.
Well, and what's so phenomenal is that there are unlike every previous Filmation show, there are so many different alien races, animal type characters, and they really did the more animation on more characters than any previous Filmation series. And Zentron says, I do actually have a few animation cells from this show. I'm going to tell you, I've fallen in love with this show, and I'm going to be watching more. And look at who's commenting. David McDonald says, that is one buff horse. Yes, it was.
Our first impression of 3030 is we were like, Tina from Bob's Burgers would have absolutely had a crush on 3030. Tina's super into horses. Her addition to one of the family story nights they do is this really buff horse named Pepperoni that all 3 of the Belcher kids can ride around in the Western. Like, we're like, Tina would have had a crush on this horse.
Maybe inspired by Bravestarr.
Maybe.
And Dave says of Deputy Fuzz, when a gopher is bitten by a radioactive Jerry Lewis. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. And Willow asks, so this show was Walker, Texas Ranger without Chuck Norris? No, it was so much more. And Dave Mattingly says, L'Oreal, because you're worth Filmation.
But apparently Filmation isn't worth it.
No,
Come on, L'Oreal.
Yeah, it's such a sad situation. I'm so glad Corey Flood is joining us in the audience, because he comments, Caterade, that Sherlock Holmes episode was a backdoor pilot. Filmation planned 2 spin-offs, Bravo and Sherlock Holmes. You know, Corey, I want to have you on the show sometime to add some insights, and I would love to do a Filmation overview, and talk about the history of Filmation. It would be really, really great, and maybe get Rob Lamb on as well. Corey Flood says, "Gotta have spin."
That's what he said. Yeah, that's what it was.
So Willow says something interesting. She says L'Oreal could have used all of these characters for selling their products. Lost opportunity. I don't know if that would work, though. I mean, L'Oreal is all about hair care and skin products. I don't know how you use Marshall Bravestarr to sell, conditioner and
you
body
use the
lotion.
dingoes.
Oh, the dingoes. They go from scruffy to silky.
Right? With the L'Oreal hair care.
Ooh, it's not too late, L'Oreal. You still
Bring it
own these
back.
properties.
Bring it back.
Yeah. And Kate Hawkins says, yeah, I know, Corey. I did a ton of research on that backdoor pilot. I've not gotten there yet, but I will definitely check that out. And Corey Flood says, I've seen the Bravo pilot on YouTube. Haven't seen anything else on Sherlock. You know, I'm going to ask Rob Lamb about that because he would have been part of that development team. He was the storyboard artist for Bravestarr and one of the lead writers, script writers. So he would have some info on that. And Caterade says, well, someday soon you might see a full breakdown on Cartoon Commotion, Corey. And Corey Flood says, Filmation cartoons were often preachy. Fat Albert when syndicated, and it got dark too, like that jail episode. Yeah. So Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids dealt with real life in, the inner city a lot. And that was due to Bill Cosby's influence. Speaking of spin. Anyway, too soon. And Willow Schuyler says, lots of companies use cartoon characters to sell shampoo and makeup kits to children. You're not wrong.
When I was a kid, L'Oreal Kids shampoo bottles were shaped like a fish.
Yes, I remember that.
It was really cartoony. It was the no tears tangle free stuff. The bottle was shaped like almost conical, and then it had like the eye and the mouth and stuff. It was shaped like a fish.
Well, I remember having bathtub finger paints, and they were tubs of colored soap, like makeup, like finger paint, and you could paint all over the walls and all over your body, but it washed right off with water. So you might be onto something there, Willow. Too bad that it's that time period is long gone. So Corey Flood, since you're in the audience, I would love to have your opinion about this because the previous Filmation shows varied in quality. And he asks, so Bravestarr versus Defenders of the Earth. As much as I love Defenders of the Earth, Corey, up until this week, I would have said Defenders of the Earth, but as of this moment, it's Bravestarr. And to finish my thought, Filmation had some really phenomenal animated series. I think Flash Gordon is one of the best of all time. But then you get to Blackstar, and Blackstar used a lot of cheap animation tricks. It was not good. The Shazam animated series was not good, but like the Planet of the Apes animated series and the Star Trek animated series from Filmation were groundbreaking. And then you had He-Man and She-Ra. He-Man was the first daily syndicated show coming out every day, and it trained, according to Rob Lamb, He-Man and She-Ra trained the Filmation animators to get ready for this, and he considers Bravestarr the peak of Filmation's production, and I'm going to agree with that. For those of you who are Filmation aficionados, I think you can agree that Bravestarr is the peak of their work, and I think it holds up really well. I was surprised at how well this holds up. I've fallen in love with it, and I'm totally into it. And Corey Flood does say, best space western, Bravestarr, Galaxy Rangers or Saber Rider. So I've not seen Galaxy Rangers or Saber Rider, so I'm going to say Bravestarr. Now, before we get to our new loot, we do have to talk about one thing. And I was turned on to this factoid by Rob Lamb. There were plans to do a Bravestarr He-Man crossover. This is fan art, but done in the character models. There was a plan to have them cross over, and not just He-Man and Bravestarr, but Bravestarr, He-Man, and Blackstar. Blackstar was originally intended to be a character on He-Man, and they were planning to do a crossover, kind of MCU style crossover, and it never came to be because the studio shut down so quickly. But you know, one of the big mistakes I think this show made is that it came out a full year after the Mattel toy line. And that's too long. And quite honestly, the Mattel toy line was a sharp departure from the Masters of the Universe style. Mattel did Masters of the Universe. These were more along the lines. Actually, they look more along the lines like the early Galoob action figures or Playmates action figures. But they came out a year before, and there were some cool toys. The Town City playset. Look, I would have loved this as a kid. And you had the Gopher Mole Miners, Deputy Fuzz, and one of the others in their little mining carts. Here you see on the far left, you've got a two-legged cyborg kind of AT-AT kind of steed. And you see here 3030 in horse form. They never made a humanoid form 3030. But they did do this cool stagecoach. This stagecoach driven by Handlebar. And this was a transforming stagecoach. So, you know, you had the atomic steed pulling it. The wheels were, hovercraft repulsors. But then it actually became two separate vehicles. And Bravestarr could ride the atomic steed. But he never did that in the show. He always rode 3030. Now, this is where I become really obsessed. Because a couple of years ago, and it's been several years, 2017, a Japanese company called Daisen did contemporary Bravestarr figures. And they only did the Marshal and maybe one or two other characters, and never did 3030. Listen, NECA or Super 7, please, for the love of God, do a revised, an updated Bravestarr figure series. Please. You've done Thundercats. You've done Silverhawks. Time to do Bravestarr. That's all I got to say about that. Yeah, so Corey Flood says the Bravestarr toy line killed any interest in the show. Well, because it came out too early and the quality just wasn't there. You don't put out a toy line a year before the series and hope that the series sells the toys. You put out the series and then you start marketing the toys based on the popularity of the series. But they did it backwards, and unfortunately, and he feels like the Galaxy Rangers cartoons died because they didn't have any toys. Back in the 80s, I mean, toy lines were a big part of the cross promotion and the success of the show. Zentron said, yeah, love Galaxy Rangers. I just wish the German DVD set I have didn't have forced English subtitles for the English audio. I hate English dubs of, but of course, this is a German dub of an English. Wait a minute, but this is English audio with English subtitles. What?
But a lot of times whenever something is dubbed, the subtitles underneath that it won't let you remove, like you can't hide them from the screen. They don't match what's being said. And I have that problem with anime all the time where I'll put an English dub on and I want the subtitles too because I watch everything with subtitles, and I'm like, the mismatch is so bad that I can't leave the subtitles on.
See, when I was younger, I hated, foreign movies that didn't have a dub and I had to read subtitles. Now, I appreciate the subtitles and the original actor's performance. And I'm like you now, I watch everything with subtitles, especially animated series like the Clone Wars and Rebels, the Ahsoka series on Disney Plus, any of the Marvel series. I put the subtitles on because what happens is sometimes there is some key dialogue that is buried in the audio mix and barely audible, but you'll see it in the subtitles, and sometimes it's big Easter eggs. And I feel like the subtitles just give you an added texture of appreciation.
I have partial hearing loss and auditory processing disorder. So like I'm glad that subtitles have gotten a lot better than they were when I was a teenager and first started noticing that I could benefit from subtitles.
Well, and for anyone who is resistant to subtitles, let me just say this. Your brain gets quickly acclimated to reading the subtitles. You pick it up very quickly.
And when they're well done, it kind of doesn't feel like they're there when you're used to when they're well done. If they match really poorly or they're full of a lot of typos or something, then you notice them again. But it's kind of like when we switch to widescreen and now you don't notice the black bar on the top and bottom of your screen because it's just part of the viewing experience. Subtitles on that for me when they're done right. So
yeah, and I'm watching a movie on Netflix. I only got halfway through it the other night called City Hunter. And it's in Japanese with English subtitles. And, I can, with subtitles, I can like only half pay attention and still get the whole gist of the story. So anyway, Corey Flood adds, I also think that Bravestarr didn't catch on because Filmation style artwork looked boring compared to what was coming from Sunbow, Deke, Ruby Spears, and TMS. I don't know. That's an interesting point, Corey, but I don't know that I agree with that because each one of those studios had their own very recognizable style. Ruby Spears was very close to Filmation, and I feel like a lot of their animators probably worked for each other. But I mean, you might be onto something. I don't know. And Zentron says, watch the original Disney DVD release of Laputa. Wait, what is Laputa? The English subtitles are for the English language audio only, not the Japanese language audio. So is Laputa an anime that Disney got the distribution rights to and released? I'm guessing. And then Corey Flood says, Centurions and Bionic 6 came out same time as Bravestarr, and they just look way better. We're going to be covering Bionic 6 later on, and we'll do a side-by-side comparison. I am just a big fan of the Filmation character models and the really clean animation. I was not a fan of some later Deke animation because they used a lot of extraneous line work. I'm just a fan of clean line work. And Zentron says, Laputa is a Studio Ghibli animated movie, their first. Okay. So something my son would be into. Well, Crayley, final thoughts on Bravestarr.
Well, I mean, the first one, like the first final thought I have is if you're, I don't feel that young anymore, but if you're younger to where like it was before your time, one of the things you need to be prepared for is that the voice acting does have that dichotomy of some characters have a low rumble and other characters have just like what to me feels very high pitched and a little like tinny.
Yeah.
Not because the sound quality is bad, but because that's like the voice timbre they were going for to indicate like female characters, younger characters, or characters when they're scared.
Or zany characters.
So if that's something that is a partial minor turnoff for you, like it is for me, I think Bravestarr, the story and the animation made it worth it. But know that you're going to that going in is that's the voice acting style that you're going to go into. Because, I mean, I feel like we gave you a lot of examples of what the animation looks like. I just want you to also have a preview of what it's going to sound like. So,
yeah. Yeah. And this is the first time, by the way, that Filmation did not use the exact same female facial character model, even for the judge. They mixed it up a little bit. They went a little bit different direction. I mean, it's still a classic Filmation style, but it's not the exact same character model as like Princess Aura or She-Ra and some of the other more sultry looking female characters. Yeah, look, I love this show. I'm going to finish the series. I'm super happy that we covered it and that I actually discovered it. Yeah, really, really cool. Now, we're mixing it up a little bit this morning, Crayley, because Saturday mornings, we would sit down, we would pour the bowl of cereal, turn on the cartoons, sit down, and in between the cartoons, we would reach into the cereal box and pull out the prizes. Now, you're maybe too young to remember prizes in the cereal box. Did they still have toys when you did? When you were a kid?
we had prizes in like the Apple Jacks boxes and stuff like that. But they weren't like the cool toys. They were mostly like you'd pull it out, it was cardboard and you assembled it yourself.
Yeah.
But we had them, they existed, or sometimes it was like a tiny little like coloring book or something paper.
Well, so that was cool. Sometimes, they would put coloring books, comic books. Sometimes they would print records on the back of the box that you cut out, and they worked. I had the Archie's Sugar. I wore that out. And toys. And listen, Post cereals and General Mills. No, Quaker Oats cereals, which was Captain Crunch. They had the best cereal box toys on the planet. Amazing stuff. But all that to say, it's time for prizes from the cereal box, also known as New Loot, brought to you by Entertainment Earth. Get your action figure and collectible fix at Entertainment Earth. The link to our affiliate store is in the comments. It costs you nothing to use our affiliate link, but it helps us out just a little bit by giving us a commission. And this week, Crayley, I don't actually have anything physical to pull from the cereal box. Mine is digital, but you will see the physical. You saw the physical product last week because we showed off and we did an unboxing of Kaijus and Cowboys. It's a graphic novel series from, a comic book series from Frankie Washington and Matthew Blair. And this is just the cover and the first page of issue 1. And basically, Earth is being overrun by giant kaiju, and a Japanese inventor starts building robots to combat the problem. And somewhere along the line, I think the robots took over, because in the 4 issues that I read, the issue 0 and then 1, 2, and 3, I didn't see any human characters. They were all robot characters. But I mean, this ties directly into Bravestarr. It's like a Western planet, post-apocalyptic kaiju invaders in this Western planet, and the main kaiju fighter dresses as a cowboy, as a marshal. And you can tell by the artwork that it's super clean, bright colors, bold lines. It feels like a Saturday morning cartoon, and in the best ways. Very little dialogue. It's mostly panel to panel action, very cinematic, a lot of sound effects, a lot of roaring, very little dialogue. There is some dialogue, but not a lot. This is a fast, quick read, and I absolutely loved it. Now, the reason I wanted to cover this, because I gave the hard copies to Aubrey, and she was going to do a review of the hard copies this morning, but she had to be on vacation. So she's going to do a follow-up review on Monday. So we'll be posting that. But I wanted to get this in this Saturday morning because they are doing their Kickstarter for issue 4. And I just replaced the banner at the bottom is their Kickstarter address scrolling along the bottom. But you can find them. Oh, that's our Patreon. You can find them at CamBryanComics.com. You can order issues 1 through 3 there in print or digital form, and help them with their Kickstarter. Now, I will tell you, they're in their final week. They've already surpassed their goal, so they're now in their stretch goal. So, help them out. Go to Kickstarter, do a search for kaijus and cowboys, and support a great project. I really, really, really love kaijus and cowboys, and I've already chipped in for issue 4. So excited to do that. And you're on mute, Krayley.
Sorry, that keeps happening. I have a really bad cough that I've been trying not to hack into everybody's ears, so I've been muted a lot more than usual. I was saying I also intend to check it out. I'm one of those people who unironically liked cowboys and aliens and stuff like that. Like I really like anything with a Western motif that you then add any other genre into in any way. Like that's my home for entertainment. So
yeah. Now, you showed it a moment ago. Show that awesome dragon again. I'm going to bring you up center stage.
This is a 3D printed dragon that I did an art trade for with the 3D print artists. It is 3 feet long, and it has all of these tiny little moons on it. The silver moons were printed separately, and every single one of those was glued in place after the print. These did not print on it so that they could be a separate color. So
wow.
Yeah, I really wish I could remember which artist did it, because I think they did a really great job. All their stuff was good. They had a lot of Pokemon stuff too that is it's 3D printed, but it's shaped like it was crocheted amigurumi style. And I mean, because I plan on wearing this for other stuff, if I find their card or something like that, I'll be posting on the Phoenix Sisters Entertainment socials. So if you're not following us there, you should for the cosplay and indie creator content anyway. But also, hopefully, we'll find where this guy came from.
Yeah, we'll share it if we can find it. So we're going to end the show with some audience comments. There's some further thoughts about Bravestarr. Zentron says Filmation used TMS for their New Adventures of Zorro animated series. TMS is an acronym for what I forget what it is, but it's a camera perspective style, and that became one of their mainstays. Corey Flood and I do not agree on very many of these animated series because he says Ruby Spears Centurions spelling, in my opinion, is it looked way better than Bravestarr. And he adds, final thoughts, Bravestarr makes the D list for weekday syndicated afternoon cartoons, something to watch before an activity or show that you really wanted to watch. Oh my gosh, Corey. See, I completely disagree. I feel that way about Transformers and G.I. Joe.
I cannot stand G.I. Joe. I liked Transformers. I can't stand G.I. Joe.
The animation frame rate on those is so bad. And it's so jarring and clunky. And I don't like either of them. So for me, Bravestarr is A-list. We're going to have to agree to disagree. I love you for tuning in, though, Corey. You add so much. And Brian Prosser says, yum, prizes. And Zentron says, annoyingly, there is no full release of Bravestarr on DVD here in the UK, just 3 DVDs with 2 episodes per disc. Oh, really? Well, let's see, as Corey Flood mentions, you can find most of Bravestarr here on YouTube. By the way, if you're watching on YouTube, do me a favor right now before we end the broadcast. Jump over to Facebook, our Facebook page, Cereal Box Podcast. Do this right now and give us a thumbs up, a heart, post a comment on Facebook. Here's why. YouTube is great, but most of our views and most of our revenue comes from Facebook. We are part of the Facebook Creators Bonus Program. So every time you give us a thumbs up or a heart or post a comment, we get a spiff for that. It's a couple of cents. But if a couple of thousand people do that, it's significant. So everyone watching on YouTube right now, go over to Facebook. Just give us a thumbs up, a heart. It costs you nothing. But if you want to invest something, you can give us some stars and buy some stars. But Corey Flood adds, at Zentron, that Zorro was awesome. Okay, I agree. The Filmation Zorro series was phenomenal. It's also on our list. And Brian Prosser says, now you have to get a McDonald's Happy Meal, I guess, to get a treat or a prize.
Even the
out of the
McDonald's
box.
Happy Meals now, they're cardboard and you have to put them together yourself. And it's just like a little cardboard standee or something.
Really?
My niece and nephew, yeah, the last time we opened up it's like I have McDonald's toys that I can pass down to my niece and nephew. They can't pass down their McDonald's toys. They're never going to be able to like pass those down as like a collector set or something. Like, they're cardboard. They're going to be destroyed by then.
So Zentron corrects me. TMS stands for Tokyo Movie Shinsha. There's another acronym that I can't remember that was not rotoscope, but it was in Filmation, like, pioneered rotoscope. But there was another frame aspect technology that they developed. It has another, we'll get into that some other day. Corey Flood says, you had to be a kid at the time to understand the ranking. His ranking is He-Man, Transformers, G.I. Joe are the A-list of weekday afternoon syndicated cartoons. See, I was a kid then, Corey. Now, granted, I was junior high and high school when those were coming out. But, I mean, I was still part of the target audience. I hated He-Man. I still don't like it. I think He-Man is the dumbest name for a superhero character ever. And Transformers, Crayley, I never understood why the Transformers needed to transform in the first place. They're giant superpowered robots. Why do they need to be in disguise? And why are they 4 million years old on Earth, and yet they transform into modern contemporary vehicles? Made zero sense to me, even as a 13, 14-year-old kid. And G.I. Joe, I liked a lot as a kid. When I go back and watch it now, it's so clunky. The animation is so bad. And that G.I. Joe movie, you can see my review of the G.I. Joe movie on Facebook and here on YouTube.
I
So
couldn't G.I. Joe in any iteration, but Transformers, I really loved. My third boyfriend when I was a kid was Optimus Prime. My first boyfriend was the animatronic Chuck E. Cheese at the Chuck E. Cheese Palace when I was in like kindergarten. I was like, that's my boyfriend. And they were like, what are you talking about? And I was like, no, he told me. And then
Crayley,
the second boyfriend was Goliath from Gargoyles. And then it was Optimus Prime. I think my first human crush was Padalecki and Gilmore Girls when I was a teenager.
Crayley, has anyone told you that you're exceptionally weird?
Yes.
Well, okay. So in all fairness, my first girlfriend was Linda Carter. I had a poster of her as Wonder Woman on my bedroom wall. My second was Farrah Fawcett from Charlie's Angels. And my third was Ariel, the Little Mermaid. Huge crush on her. Totally inappropriate today based on her age, but, you know, I was her age when I had a crush on her. So anyway. All right. So Corey does disagree with me. Surprise. He says, no, 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 no. You were too old if you were in junior high or high school. You needed to be age 5 to 11 to fully get it. Okay. So I will grant you that boon, Corey, that I probably at that age, and most of my friends, you're right. They had moved on from cartoons and comic books and gotten into sports and, you know, action movies more heavily. So at that age, watching these shows, I saw a lot more of the flaws in them. But I mean, G.I. Joe came out when I was in 6th grade. So, and the toys came out a year before when I was in 5th grade. So I don't know. I was in that 5 to 11 range when G.I. Joe came out. And Corey Flood says, Zentron, we would need a whole nother hour to explain the awesomeness of Transformers. Well, we've done 2 episodes on Transformers, Corey. We did an episode on the daily animated series and an episode on the movie. Oh, is that movie rough? Anyway, and Zentron says, only an hour? I could talk Transformers for 13 hours straight. You guys, I could talk all of this stuff for 13 hours straight. I would be here all day if I could, but I know Crayley's like me. She's a busy artist and creator, and she's probably got an action-packed Saturday. I've got a full action-packed Saturday going down to Stirr's Cereal Bar in Huntsville, Alabama. They just opened 2 months ago. We're going to go down there. We're going to be filming live from Stirr's. I'll probably even do some magic from Stirr's. So we'll do that live this afternoon. If you're watching us on, and we'll only do that on Facebook. So if you're not following us on Facebook, make sure you click follow and then click this notification button so that you get notified when we go live this afternoon. You can, follow us at backofthecerealbox.fun. That is our official website. And from there, you can link to us on all of the social media platforms, all of the podcast, audio, and video platforms, YouTube, iHeart, Apple, Spotify, Facebook, Audible. I think I said Audible. We're everywhere, man. We're everywhere. We're everywhere.
I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere.
Yes, love that. And Crayley, you can find Crayley at Phoenix Sis Cosplay and CrayleyVanest.com.
Yep.
Get them Pokeballs.
Yeah, it's
Pokeballs by Crayley, all handmade with love. They're pretty
And
awesome.
I include stands. You don't have to buy your own stand to hold a spherical item. That's a concern some people have. I just include it. It's in there. So
Yeah. So my final thoughts about Bravestarr, I thought it was awesome. And this episode made my Saturday a lot more fun. I hope it did you, Krayley. And continue to comment in the audience. Continue to post comments. Continue to like and give us a thumbs up, hearts. Share if you like this. Share it with 200-300 of your closest friends and family. And if you really like it, contribute at patreon.com/cerealboxpodcast. $2 gets you membership, and that's awesome. So, Krayley, we're going to end the show with the Cereal Box Network theme song that is performed by D'Elle Memphis and the Murdering Crows. Let's see, where are they? Where did they go? Did I move that cart? There we are. D'Elle Memphis and the Murdering Crows. You can get their album at Amazon, iTunes, or Google, anywhere you buy music. Actually, Google Music is gone. It's now YouTube Music. But you can get this from them. And we're going to say so long, farewell. Love you, mean it. Yes, and until the next time, love you, mean it. We'll catch you on the back of the cereal box.
It's like